Yeah, I am going to Hong Kong because I'm getting my master's in computer science. Well, technically, in information technology or whatever, because it's a taught master. So I'm not doing a thesis or anything, or I'm not, studying for freaking 4 years or whatever. I'm only staying for a year. Well, at a minimum, a year, because that's how long the program will last. So, of course, I've been playing this for like, I don't know. I've been planning on going to China since like maybe 4 years ago, since my sophomore year of college. And, finally when I graduated, COVID stuff happened, but I was able to apply. And, I got into HKUST, I did all the process and stuff. So here is, you should be seeing video of me, driving in with my parents, going to the Norfolk airport. And this was my first time ever actually flying anywhere by myself, of course, and especially flying this far out of country. I flew only once to the Dominican, and that was the first time I ever left the country. But that's still North America, so that, it is leaving the country, but it's like, it's not like a big trip. So this was my first big trip, first big flight, and it was by myself. So I was really nervous, and seeing my parents leave for the last time, or before I leave the gate, because I didn't know that they can't go, they can't sit at the gate with me. They can only go as far as the checking or whatever, like when they check your bags, whatever that's called, the customs or whatever. So that was kind of a shock that that's as far as they can go. So it was only like a couple minutes before we reached there, because I had my bags weighed and everything was good. They checked all my papers to make sure I had my visa, make sure I had like the whole quarantine information and all that, because I had to do a 2-week quarantine once I reach here. Luckily only 2 weeks. It could have been 3 weeks, but it's only 2 weeks because I got the vaccine, or both shots of the vaccine and everything. Well, yeah, when they left, I teared up just a little bit, because seeing them, that was basically this last time I would see them in person for a whole year, because I can't fly back there, because if I fly back there, I'll have to do another 2-week quarantine, and that whole flight, spoiler alert, that was a 40-hour flight process, like 40 hours through transit. That's too much. That's too much to do again. Once I got to, that was simple. The Norfolk airport was pretty simple, because I got to my gate, and I was lost for a couple seconds, but then I finally found my gate. It was kind of a weird spot, but I found the gate, and just waited. Got a little something to eat for breakfast, small little bagel or something like that, and then there we go. A couple minutes later, I'm on the flight. After a while, the flight happened, and I lift off from Norfolk Air Base, or airport, Norfolk Airport, and that was the one time I kind of teared up, because the whole journey started, and that was basically the first time I ever left that area. Like, going to college was, it was a big jump, but it was still in Virginia, and now I'm leaving the whole country. So I teared up, gotta admit, teared up just a little bit, but that went away kind of quickly, because stuff move on. We were already flying, so that flight was actually really, really quick. It was kind of cool seeing some buildings from the sky and everything, but it was a quick flight, because it was like maybe 40 minutes, just a 40-minute flight to get from Norfolk, Virginia all the way to Philadelphia. So once I was in the Philadelphia airport, it turned out that I was freaking like a long distance away from the freaking the terminal I needed to be on. So I'm not sure if there's like transportation to my gate, because I'm in gate, like I exited in gate F, and there's freaking gate A, and it seems like gate A is like literally the furthest possible place I could be in this airport, and like I'm walking there, and I see something that says like transportation, but I'm like, am I supposed to take that? So I don't know. So I'm just gonna walk it. Luckily, I had like an hour-long layover before my flight started, but still, that was a freaking long. I was literally on the opposite end. So I decided just to walk because I know apparently there was transportation, but I did not want to risk taking that and then getting lost even more. So I just walked because I knew I could get there by walking. I did not know about the transportation thing, like whether I'd messed that up. So I walked, got some exercise, and I mean, it was a far walk, but it wasn't that bad. So once I got to the other end, simple, just sat down and waited, and then boom, there we go. There was the plane. Got on and off to freaking Qatar. You would think that I would tear up that one because I'm actually leaving the country, so now it's like that was the point of no return. But that I already had that emotional moment for the Philadelphia flight, so that wasn't going to happen again. So there it goes, flying to freaking Doha, and it's pretty cool. Actually, I mean, it was a freaking long flight. So I mean, that wasn't it was a long flight. I think it was like 12 hours because flying to the other side of the world, have to go past the whole Atlantic Ocean, and it's not like I could see anything anyway because we were flying like super high up in the sky, like freaking what was it, I think we were 11 kilometers up. But yeah, once I was on the flight, it was nighttime, so it's not like I could see anything anyway, so I was just looking out the window, looking at the nothing, and then I kind of fell asleep. And then it was only for like an hour, so an hour later, it was 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, but we were flying east. So because we were flying east, the sunrise would happen earlier. So, the sunrise started happening at like 2 o'clock. Well, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So when the sun was going up, I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. So I went to look at it. It was kind of cool. I mean, nothing really much to see, but still, it was something. Because, I'm not just gonna, I didn't pull out my laptop or anything. I didn't want to mess with my laptop on the plane. And I was just listening to music, so I was just listening to music, watching the sunrise. But then, once the sun finally rose, that sun was bright. Freaking bright as mess. I was like, jeez. And the problem was everyone else had their windows closed because I don't know. They just wanted to see a bunch of nothing in the plane, just be in the middle tube of nothingness. So then, when the sun came up, my one window open was like lighting up the freaking whole side of my plane. It's kind of embarrassing, but I was like, whatever. I still want to see this stuff. So I kept looking, and the flight attendant kind of came. I don't know if she was trying to hint to me to close the blinds, because technically it was still like 3 o'clock a.m. Even though where we were, it could have been, I don't know, it could have been 7 o'clock. But, people were still in their Eastern time, like, thinking. So, they were going to sleep. But she told me, like, oh, yeah, you're not supposed to look out the window like that because even the pilots wear sunglasses and stuff because it's so bright and it can damage your eyes and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay. And I looked out still for a little bit more, and then I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, the blind was kind of shut already. So I guess the flight attendant closed my thing when they saw I fell asleep. So that was kind of cool. But the only unlucky thing, but luckily it was only like, I guess we only had like maybe 5 or 4 more hours to go when this happened. But my phone ran out of battery because for some reason I decided not to charge my phone when I was in the Philadelphia airport. Because, technically I had my phone on for over, let's just say, like over 16 hours or something like that. Because it was since I charged it, of course, before I went to the Norfolk airport. But I didn't charge it again since then. I mean, it lasted a while with me taking pictures and all that, but still, after that, of course, everything started coming out. And I was seeing a bunch of stuff. I was seeing like these, like in the desert, there were a bunch of rivers, and these rivers had, well, not actual rivers, but these you could see the scarring of the rivers, which was kind of cool. And like you could see it, like from the desert, you would see, discolorations of things that look like rivers, like the same exact shape, the same flow and the bends and everything of a river, the same branching off streams and stuff. But of course, it was all dried up, so I mean, it's kind of cool. So the desert at some point wasn't a desert. After that, I saw like these weird little circle things. I wasn't sure if they were solar panels or whatever. That was kind of cool too. Oh yeah, of course, at the beginning of the flight, you hear a baby crying. Of course. Oh, when we finally landed at Doha, We left the plane, and it was like around 6 o'clock their time, and that heat felt good. I don't know what anyone's talking about. That heat felt good coming out of that plane. Like, everyone else was like, dang, it's hot here. I was like, dang, this is nice, because the plane was so cold, and I only had like short sleeves on. Well, I mean, I had long pants, but still, it's like, it was cold in that plane. So leaving into that dry heat, that felt good. That was like I don't know. That just felt like a nice warm breeze. But then, of course, we took the shuttle, and then, boom, back into that freaking cold airport. Here, and now I'm in Qatar. So, I mean, I'm charging my phone now, because, you know, it was completely out of charge. So now I'm charging it, and I'll take a couple pictures, maybe put it in between this and stuff like that. Because right now, I already see, like, this big freaking Banksy statue. I mean, it's right there. It's freaking big. I think it's Banksy. I think that's the name of that artist. The one who does like the Disney type like characters. So it's pretty cool. And there's like some fancy little cars around. But I have a freaking 9-hour layover. So, you know, there's nothing else I can do. I don't even know what my gate is because I have to wait until it's midnight. And right now, it is 6:45. So I have like 5 hours until I even know where my gate is. So just go to explore the airport. I haven't ate yet. Oh, one last annoying thing. There was a like a group in front of me, because luckily I was able to get a like my row was not socially distanced at all. Like the plane wasn't socially distanced, but my row, I had 3 people, but there was a row right in front of me of seats that, you know, no one was sitting in. I guess no one, for some reason, didn't pick that empty row. They rather sat next to someone during COVID times. Kind of weird. But then they were like, oh, you can sit there if you want to. So I was like, okay, sure, I'll sit there. But of course, the person in front of me, even though I had a nice empty row, you know, nice and social distance for me, the people in front, this group of people in front, well, the 2 on the ends, I think they kept their mask on, but the one in the middle, she did not keep her mask on. She kept taking it off. And the only time she would put it on is when the flight attendant would walk by, because, you know, you're supposed to have it on 24/7. And when the flight attendant went by, then she wouldn't put it on. She would just do that little thing where it's just under your chin. And then when they walk by, or walk away, they would take it off. I'm like, what the heck? Like, you realize, like, this all spread in the first place, like initially, from the freaking planes. Crazy. People are freaking brave. I cannot believe. But I swear that whatever particle, I mean, I have an N95 mask, so maybe, but I had to take off the mask to eat. That was the problem. That's another thing. It freaking sucks. But still, that's about it. So when my phone finally charges, I'm going to take pictures and look around. Last thing, this freaking mask is hurting. Like, it hurts the bridge of my nose. I think because it's the one that like straps, but it like pinches down on my nose and it hurts. Like, it hurts bad. Jeez. They're wondering like if it's gonna like, I don't know, make a bump in my nose after this. Jeez. I keep kind of to reach. That's because it hurts. It like actually hurts. But yeah, that's the last thing. And after I got up, after that recording, I went and looked around, and I didn't want to like move around too much because I didn't know where my gate was. I just went and got something to eat, and regrettably, I didn't go to look around to see if there was like, you know, an established like fast food place like McDonald's or Burger King or something. Nope, I just went for the first thing I saw, which was this burger place. So I was like, okay, it's a burger place, and I saw it was like how many Qatari dinari or whatever they're called. And I was like, okay, I'll get some of this. And I was like, you know, there's no way this burger and fries would be this expensive. There's no way it's going to be expensive. It has to be like, you know, a fair amount, like maybe $10. I'm like, okay, I'm in the airport, so maybe it's like $13. No. I should have freaking did the freaking conversion, because that thing was $20 freaking for this burger and fries. And the burger wasn't even that great. Like, a McDonald's burger was as good as that thing. You would think this was going to be like some thick burger, nice. Nope. Freaking, I could not believe. So I got baited by that. So then after I ate, I kind of just waited around, fell asleep a little bit, and then I woke up around it must have been around 10 or 11 or something like that. And I started noticing there were more like Asian passengers or whatever, Asian people walking around and like looking at the thing. And I even saw like a brigade of freaking like these people super prepared for the pandemic. They had like the whole attire on. It was just a whole group of them. So I was like, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe the Asian flights are happening around soon. So I went to look and yep, they were. So after that, I got my gate number. So I knew where I had to be by the time the plane was about to leave. So I just went and explored the airport, but there wasn't really much to explore. I mean, there were some cool little statues for like, you know, slides for kids or whatever. There were some expensive shops, of course, like Gucci and all that stuff. I was like, I'm not even gonna look through that stuff because what's the point? This stuff is expensive. So, I mean, at least it was exercise, but there was really nothing to see, really, other than the cool little statues, like the big bear. That was kind of cool. But then after that, I just walked to my gate because it was around that time, months after I explored the whole airport. And the airport wasn't as big as I thought it would have been, but I mean, it was something to do. So then I got to my gate about 2 hours before the flight or something like that. And I noticed that they were already like checking for the visa and the freaking, like your COVID check and stuff like that. And if you had the PCR test done, which basically tells you if you had COVID, which they already checked for when I was leaving the country. Like when I was leaving from Philadelphia to Doha, they checked the PCR test. Perfect. Everything was fine. They didn't like question anything. But then for this specific flight, for some reason, the dude who was there, he was looking at my PCR test and it didn't have like a certain seal or whatever. So he was like, oh, we don't know if this PCR test is an established PCR test. Like, we don't know if this is approved by your government or whatever. And I was like, it kind of does say that right here. It says like, it would say like, oh, it was approved by blank. It has it says like, oh, this is blah, 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 blah. Like it had basically the information, but it seemed like he was looking for like a specific third page that had like a little badge or something. Cause all these other people, like he kept showing me like, you know, someone from Belgium or something had like, oh, approved by the Belgian government. But the problem was, you know, we're the United States. Like we have a state government and a federal government, and the state governments, you know, each state is different from one another with how, you know, maybe this state, you know, requires a badge. Maybe this state just has it on the website or whatever. Like, you know, stuff are different. So just because, let's just say some person from Colorado had this little thing that says, oh, approved by the Colorado state government, like the Virginia government might not, you know, make it look like that. So I was trying to tell him like, you know, this page, like, yeah, I don't have this third page, but on the second page, it says all that in this like long little paragraph. But, you know, he kept like, he just was confused. Like he wasn't being like rude or mean or anything. He just seemed like he was really confused about it. Cause you know, he's from the Doha, I'm assuming. But he, you know, luckily he let me go anyway. He basically said like, he didn't want to make me, you know, stop me from going just because of this, you know, after I, you know, traveled so far and everything. So he let me go anyway. And I got on the plane, you know, I got the little sticker that, you know, the supported sticker that says like, I guess that, you know, I'm approved to leave. And I'm getting on the plane completely freaking out. But, you know, I tried to calm myself down, basically say, you know, this is part of the hero's journey, you know, there has to be some type of struggle in the beginning, blah, 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 blah. But still, when I got on the plane, of course, another baby crying, of course, just screaming their eyes out. And then, you know, the plane got off. And this was a technically shorter flight. I think it was only 8 hours or something like that. But this is still a long flight. So I'm on the plane, you know, we're flying over Mediterranean, we're flying over a little bit of the Middle East, flew over, you know, some of India, you know, but the problem was, again, this is something, because I wanted the window seat specifically so I could look outside the plane. But people who aren't on the window seat, they want to go to sleep constantly. Like they just only want to sleep when they're on the plane. I'm like, what the heck? So you guys are wanting to sleep constantly, so I can't look out the window because, if I open the window, it's just gonna be blinding light, so I never get to look. Luckily, this plane was a little more updated, so it had like a screen where you could see what the plane sees, kind of, but it's not the same as looking out yourself. But I went to look when we were over India, and I'm seeing some black clouds. Like, these clouds are pitch black. I'm like, what the heck? And of course, I want to look out and see if this is real or if this is some weird, like, camera. Like, the camera just can't, get the colors right or something. But, I can't open the blinds because the whole freaking plane's going to be blinded by my one thing because I'm the only one who wants to look out, apparently. So I didn't get to see if these clouds were actually black in India. I don't know if the air pollution was just terrible in India or something, because those clouds on the picture were pitch black. I could not believe. But of course I couldn't look. But, after a while we finally reached like Asia. And finally, after a long while, we finally reached the kind of area around Hong Kong. And finally, because we were about to land, like in an hour or so, then, they forced everyone to open up their blind. I don't know why, but, they forced everyone to open up their windows. Finally, I could look out. So I saw, I knew we were getting close because I saw some freaking skyscrapers already, like in this, random part. And it wasn't Hong Kong. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So we must be getting close. And then we went over the water. I'm like, okay, we're at the water. And I saw a bunch of freaking islands. And the islands had freaking skyscrapers on it. So I'm like, oh, we're here. But no, we just flew right past the island. So it's just a random island, I guess, part of Hong Kong or whatever. And these islands have freaking skyscrapers too. So I'm like, jeez, there's skyscrapers everywhere in this place. Flew over some more islands. Each time I'm like, oh, we finally made it, because I keep seeing skyscrapers and islands, and nope, fly over it. So I'm like, dang, okay, whatever. And then finally, there was a big, of course it was super cloudy, so I couldn't really see, but, I kind of knew this was the one, because, there were a bunch of freaking skyscrapers, just a bunch, way more than the islands, a huge amount. I'm like, oh, okay, we're here. And then I start recognizing, that one tall building I forgot the name of, and, stuff like that, because, from Google Earth, so I kind of recognized it. I was like, oh, we're here, wow. So we're flying over, blah, 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 beautiful. The clouds kind of opened up so I can kind of see some stuff finally. Blah, 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 we finally land. And when we land, I'm like, yes, we're here. I'm happy. I just gotta, I'm assuming they just gotta check my paperwork and then I go to the hotel. Nope. They checked my paperwork. Then I had to do this sign up. And I had to sign up for basically so they know all my information, and it gives me a little QR code or whatever, so they can just scan it and know, okay, this is Jabari, blah, 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 he has 2 vaccines, blah, 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 blah. So I had to sign all that up. That took a while. Then after that, I had to wait in a line, and that line was long as mess. I had to walk through all these, all these queues and stuff. Long as mess. Hour later, still in this freaking line. 2 hours later, finally I reached this place so I can get the COVID test, or get tested for COVID. So I'm like, okay, after this, surely I'm done. And that test was actually very simple. It wasn't the PCR test where they're going all the way up your freaking nose. No, this one was just a little swap on the tongue, done. And I was like, okay, finally, I'm done. Nope. Then I had to go in another freaking queue. In this freaking line, long as mess. Another freaking hour passes by. Finally, I'm here at this one spot, and they're like, okay, you have to show me all this paperwork. So I'm like, okay, here's the paperwork. And then I'm freaking out because I have to show them the same paperwork that got me problems with the guitar thing. But, unlike the guitar thing, they're just like, okay, you're ready to go. So I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't say anything. I'm just like, okay. I don't want them to go like, oh, actually, where's that certification or whatever? Oh, yeah, that guy was right. And I'm had to force go back or something. But luckily, everything was fine and well. So I walked past and okay, finally I'm done. Surely I'm done now. But no, another line, and then freaking I had to wait for that COVID test to its results to come back. So now I'm sitting for another freaking 2 hours or whatever, waiting, and then finally the test is done. I'm like, okay, I'm done now. We're walking. I'm like, okay, yes, nice. I'm going down. I go into a tram or whatever. I'm like, yes, finally, we're done. You know, I'm going upstairs, going, you know, walking past places, walking through the airport. I'm like, yes. I'm texting people. I'm like, yes, I'm finally leaving. Blah. I'm going to the hotel now. Nope. Then I see the longest line of them all. Because I already got all my bags and stuff. That was simple. Then I see this freaking long freaking line. It's already night now. I got there at 4. It's like 11 o'clock now. And I see the freaking long line wrap around. I didn't even take a picture of this because I was just so tired at this point. There's just a line wrapping around. And this was a line so you could get into the shuttle to get to your hotel. So, you know, they had to get more paperwork so they know what shuttle you are. Then you had to wait for your shuttle to get there. And then you had to wait to hope that you get, you know, you're in the front of the line so then you can get into the shuttle or whatever. So this freaking long line, I'm in this line for an hour, and I'm already so annoyed because babies, these people have babies, and they're just screaming and yelling constantly. Rather it's in the plane, rather it's in the line, rather it's while doing the COVID test, rather it's in the line for the shuttle, they're just crying, screaming and crying out. It was just crazy. It's just so annoying. So I'm waiting in this line, hearing the babies cry, trying to block it out of my mind. Finally, the shuttle comes. And finally, I'm on the shuttle, and you know, that part was kind of cool, like, because I finally got, like, the shuttle finally went into the city, and there's just skyscrapers everywhere. Like, everything is a freaking skyscraper. Like, it didn't seem like there was any building that was shorter than 5 stories. Just everything's just up there. And you know, for me, I'm, you know, from the suburbs, so I'm not used to like skyscrapers everywhere like this. So I'm just looking around, looking up, because you have to just constantly look up because everything's high. Even like I seen schools are freaking tall. Like I saw this primary school, and this primary school is freaking 6 stories or whatever. Even the buildings, like the rundown buildings are tall, the freaking fancy buildings are tall. And you know, it's just everywhere. Just everything is just tall. Like I'll drive by, or we drove by, and it's just, you know, a group of buildings just tall. Buildings in the distance, just tall. Buildings close together, just tall. Buildings far away, tall. Everything's just tall. So I'm not used to that. So I'm like just looking around like a freaking like kid in a candy shop or whatever. And finally, after that, I reached my hotel. Did a little more paperwork, of course, and here I am, stuck for 2 weeks. So here is the footage of that. Okay, so this is the room. It's not big at all, but you know, it's not small either. I mean, it's small, but you know, it could be smaller. It's not bad. You know, it's just me, so I don't need like a big room. So I hope through video you can see the scale of this room. Like, it's pretty, I mean, it's bigger than my dorm at freaking George Mason, so I mean, it's not bad. I'm gonna see what the window, where the heck? How do you even open up this window? How does this work? Oh. It's not bad. I'm on the 26th floor. So that's my face. I have a red mark on my freaking nose because of where it's been bumping on my nose. Oh yeah, this is the longest I've taken off the mask since the whole journey started. Kind of cool. I'm actually breathing air for once without the filter of a mask. I will probably be making another video, maybe a video about you know, the quarantine process, because this is something. It's only day 3 and oh man, this freaking sucks. But you know, the hotel's nice, so. But yeah, I might make a video, I don't know. It depends on if there is stuff to talk about that's interesting. If there isn't, then I'm probably not making a video, and the next video would just be me actually exploring the Hong Kong. But that would be in a minimum of 2 weeks because, you know, who knows? Because, you know, you know, this is my first time making a vlog, technically. I mean, I used to have some old vlogs, but they weren't really vlogs. It was just a day in the life of Thedancingtako or whatever. But this is like a real first vlog, and knowing me, I'm going to do some freaking stuff that's completely unnecessary. But of course I will do it, and then it will make the video take even longer to come out. So, you know, whenever this comes out, it will come out. And whenever the next video comes out, it'll come out. But if there is something you want to know about travel-wise, if it is interesting enough, not if it's some boring stuff, because I will do that in a podcast instead, because, you know, podcasts are meant to be, you know, more thorough about stuff. But if it's something that's interesting to talk about from a vlog, then you can comment it and I will talk about it. But if not, then just go to the freaking podcast and talk about it. Or, you know, send a voice message on the podcast, and then I will record and make a mini wisdom about it. Javor's Wisdom on every podcast platform. Yes. Listen to it, watch it, so I can get monetization, so I can have money to do stuff here. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, do that. But yeah, I hope that was interesting / helpful / whatever, because that's how the Dancing Talk is going to be from now on for a while. Because I don't know next time I do a skit, and I definitely don't know next time I do some freaking anime thing, because, you know, I'm kind of past that. But maybe at some point, maybe it would have to be something like crazy big, not some boring anime opening. Like, I mean, I have an idea, but, you know, that's some fairy tale level stuff that might never happen. But if it does happen, it would be amazing. If it doesn't, then oh well. But yeah, that's the end of the vlog.